Hello, hello, and welcome. This is the Romeo Bearden Foundation Cinque Artist Series. Thank you all for joining us this evening. On behalf of the Board of Directors and our staff, I welcome you to our Cinque series. Tonight, we will be speaking with Yolène Legrand in conversation with Shaka Myrick. This program is named from the historic Cinque Gallery, founded by artists Romeo Bearden, Norman Lewis, and Ernest Critchlow. It ran as a nonprofit for almost 40 years, giving artists and curators of color opportunities to exhibit and sell their work. Our program celebrates that part of Bearden's legacy by promoting artists and giving them a platform to talk about their work, and for other artists to engage in a network. For more on the various projects that we do, please visit beardenfoundation.org. For tonight's talk with artist Yolène, we will turn it over to Shaka Myrick. Shaka is the 2021-2023 Romeo Bearden Graduate Fellow at the St. Louis Art Museum. Shaka earned a bachelor's degree in fine arts at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and spent the next decade working in museums across the Midwest. She received a master's degree in art history from the University of Missouri, Kansas City in 2021 after curating Real Black, the first exhibition featuring all Black artists at the University of Missouri, Kansas City Gallery of Art. Since her appointment as the inaugural two-year 2021-23 Romeo Bearden Graduate Fellow, I want to say that right, it's Romeo Bearden Graduate Fellow, I want to be so proud of her. She's completed many projects focused on increasing the visibility of artists and works by Black artists in the print, drawing, and photographs department. She also has a vested interest in the history of West African textiles and their impact on contemporary art. From this research, she will co-curate an exhibition highlighting Yoruba Asoke Osheke. Okay, she's going to pronounce that for us. Opening September 2023 at the St. Louis Art Museum. And without further ado, Shaka, welcome. And Shaka, please.
Thank you so much, Deidre.
Please pronounce the name of that show that I butchered, please.
Ashoke. There's an exhibition in Ashoke, prestigious cloth from Nigeria that will be in an exhibition September 29th at the St. Louis Art Museum. I'm so happy to be part of the Cinque Artist Talk, and so blessed to have been working with Yolène Legrand and learning more about her work. And I hope that we all feel the same by the end of this presentation. Yolène Legrand is a multimedia artist who has really been involved in the arts for several decades. Her recent works were featured in galleries in New York, and she travels cross-continental and in a cross-cultural way that inspires her work. Several of the works we'll see today will really pay homage to the history and lineages in Haiti, her home. And without further ado, Yolène, please join us. And we'd like to know more about your practice and your work.
Hi, welcome all to here. I'm Yolène Legrand, and I'm originally from Haiti, but a long-time New Yorker. And I'm a former banker turned artist. The art took over my life, and I really enjoy painting and printmaking. I first started painting, doing oil painting, and then I graduated to doing pastels and watercolor, and then I got into printmaking. So I have a wide range of subject matters and medium that I use, and I consider myself mainly a landscape painter because nature is pure love to me. And I love being outdoor and painting. And I painted all over the world, or at least scenes from over the world, places that I visited. Usually all the pieces that I have painted, I have seen these places and I've been there. And whether it be in Haiti, of course, in all throughout the US, in New York, Nantucket, Cape Cod, Florida, everywhere, and in France. And so I'd like to show you what I've been doing over these years.
I think the first slide, the first image is really telling in your travels, photography, and how you use that work, or how you use the images to inspire you as you come back and paint in New York City. This is really one of many stars for me. Could you tell us more about how this work came to be, Yolène?
Okay. Actually, I was on a painting trip in Haiti for about a month. And then one of my extended family members was going on a business trip in Cavaillon, in this town, Campirin, I'm sorry, where this canal was located. I had never heard of the canal before and never seen it. And so we got there, it was a bit late, so I couldn't see what was around me. So we went to the little bed and breakfast and slept. I got up the next morning all excited, and then I saw this canal and I was like in awe. I just like stood there and just amazed by the whole sight of it, the power of it and all that. So obviously I was only there for 2 days. There was no way for me to paint it. So, and that was like many, many years ago. So I had an old video camera. So I filmed the whole scene, the canal, and I said, okay, when I come back to New York, I'll do a painting. And I came back to New York, but I didn't do the painting. I was still a little bit overwhelmed and by the whole thing, and it was just unbelievable. Until many years later, I was contacted by a curator who was going to prepare an exhibition at the Erie Canal Museum to celebrate the centenary of the Erie Canal in New York. And she said she would love to have my work in that exhibition. If I have any painting on canals from anywhere in the world, or if I can have a painting ready within the next year, for the exhibition. And I was like, yes, 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 I can have one ready. And I started working on this piece. It took me many months to do it because it's a rather large piece than my typical work. And with layers and layers, it's an oil painting, and I worked on it for many months. But I was really happy with it, and I could feel, the same, have the same feeling that I had when I saw the canal. So I finally completed it, and it was in the museum, and it traveled at a couple of other locations in upstate New York.
I am, speaking with you about all of the works that we'll see. Okay. I am constantly drawn to how your traveling to Haiti affects what you're drawing. So there's so much history and enslavement for this work.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly with this canal, because after I've seen it, I started researching about it. Mm-hmm. And I found out the history of it. This canal was created in the 1700s, in 1765. By the French were at that time, occupying Haiti to irrigate the land there, their farmland. And obviously the labor work was done by the Haitians who were the slaves there at that time in 1765. And so they were the one who worked on it, who did the labor part of it. So so the interesting thing is that almost 200 years later, it's still there, and the family, the descendant of the same slaves are the one enjoying it now, because now they own the land in that area, and they are irrigating their own property, their own farm now. And the families, the parents and kids and grandkids would go near the canal to picnic on weekends and just enjoy that wonderful view. It's just amazing.
Really, really incredible, rich history. As we move to the next slide, I think this is we're going to see more of that history of enslavement and the ruins and what was left behind. This slide and the next slide are so near and dear to my heart. Could you please, Yolène, give us a little background about the ruins of this old hospital for enslaved individuals, and tell us more about working on pastel versus oil paint for this work.
Okay. I love pastel. I started working with oil first because I studied with a major oil painter at the Art Student League of New York. But then once I discovered pastel, I was like totally taken by it because I love the possibility of using my fingers, to blend the colors and work on the colors and blending. Yes, so I really enjoy using pastel. But this particular scene is the one that really shook me quite a bit, because one of my nieces was working for the Sea Island Resort in Georgia, and I had gone there to visit her. It's the Sea Island Resort and Hotel in Georgia, and that resort also owned a golf course on St. Simon Island. So one of the employees there took me on a tour while I was waiting. She was working to visit the golf course. And as I was walking, I saw this building and I said, oh my God, ruins, what is this? And the guy looked at me and he just waved. He said, oh, it's like the ruin of an old slave hospital. And I was like, say what? And I was like totally, because I know about slavery, I studied about slavery, I read about slavery, but it has disappeared for so long in Haiti, almost 200 years. I've never seen something so real, something that I can touch, that bring me back that far back. So I was like, it's so hard to explain the feeling that I had. And so he said, oh, if that interests you, I'll show you where the graves are, the slave graves are. And I couldn't even talk. So I said, I have to paint this in. So I wasn't there for long enough to actually paint it while I was there. So I took some photos and the tour continued. And then we go to the next piece. Then he takes me
Next slide.
The next slides at again, at St. Simon Island. And he said, oh, this was an old slave house. But this one, they have fixed it and turned it into a gift shop. But I was standing outside it, looking at the window. And you see, even when I'm talking about it, I get goosebumps because I can visualize the family after a long day of work on the property. They get home late in the day and they're sitting together, and I can visualize them behind that window talking and touching each other and talking. And I said, I want to paint this also, but I just want that window because I want to preserve that feeling of knowing, that family is right behind there, talking to each other and communicating and touching each other and talking after a hard day of work. So it's very moving for me, and it still is, to have to face this, so up close and personal. It was quite an experience.
I truly see not only the love of pastels, your love for working with your hands in this piece in particular, but the history behind this and the last work, being a part of a gift shop now and just on a golf cart. That's part of the information that gives me chills. But I too see a family sitting in the window after a long, hard day, but only with your explanations, Yolène. So it is so important to have this context. This being in Georgia, here in the United States, the previous piece, or the first image being in Haiti. I'd like to move on to the next works that I think give more storyline behind Haiti and also the everyday life of its residents. Could you please share this really cool story quickly?
Oh yes, this one is really cool. Again, I was back in Haiti and looking for scenes, on a painting trip, and I met this lady And so she offered to pose for me to do a painting. So I said, okay. And she said, oh, but I have to get dressed and be ready for it. So she went and got her all dressed up and everything and sat down to pose for the photo. And I said, oh, but Madame Celestine, you only have one socks on. You forgot to put the other socks. And she looked at me and said, but my dear, it's only one foot that hurts. And I was like, ah, okay. So I accepted it and I did the photo, the painting. I took the photo and did the painting just the way she wanted it, with just one sock on, and it totally made sense. And the interesting coincidence is that afterward, not much longer, that piece got exhibited at the North General Hospital, which was in Harlem, that no longer exists. And I was invited to show my artwork, and I had that piece there, and I said it belonged in the hospital, And it was very moving experience when the hospital ended up buying that piece for their collection. But since they went out of business, I don't know what became of it. But I was so happy that it found the right home.
Yes, another kind of narrative work with a really rich story. Someone who lives in Haiti, doing their thing, and seems pretty practical. I mean, only one foot hurts. So that's the one I love that. That's
once she said it, it totally made sense. It's very typical Haitian, it's very typical Haitian.
Typical Haitian, we have sort of images in our next slide of maybe the commute on this special street, and then some history behind this cool fruit vegetable that I can tap in on. Could you tell us about the way you made and just the story behind the commute? The
commute, I just wanted to document the typical streets of Haiti, the typical commuting method. Because everywhere you go in Haiti, you'll see that, in any town. And this one was in Pétionville, which is not too far from Port-au-Prince, the capital. But I've been to other towns, in the far west, east, and it's the standard way of commuting. And I thought I wanted to document it, and the choice of the colors that the people, wear, very lively colors, and they were all, really excited and happy to be heading to work or wherever they were going, or to visit their family, because it's a transport. It takes them from one town to another, and so I just wanted to document that and just as part of Haiti, as it is.
Now, were you able to communicate with any of these commuters?
Not these commuters, no, because actually they were like ahead of me. I just was able to take some photos and do the painting when I came back to New York. I did some sketches while in Haiti and did the painting in New York. But I have communicated with others, and especially when I went back to Haiti to volunteer many years later as a translator, because I speak Haitian Creole and French. And so I went for American Medical Mission to translate for them. And I was able to really communicate with a lot of people, meeting a lot of people, and it was really wonderful. It was really wonderful.
There's some really stark contrasts that you're using with the body versus maybe the ruins of the hospital or the window. It's just so different. You mentioned the color. So that red and those greens on the t-shirt really pop a different way from using pastels.
Yes.
Being so many of your pastels, I look at Bread's tree and I assume the way she works with color, the way she, applies color to a paper, this must be pastel, but this is a watercolor.
Watercolor,
yes.
Exactly.
Multimedia artist, for
sure.
Exactly.
It's a watercolor. And the breadfruit itself, it's like one of my favorite vegetables. And And as you probably know, now they find out it's very, very popular in Haiti, very popular, all over. And you boil it, and then you can eat it with milk, or I'm sorry, with meat or seafood, or you can eat it any way you want. And some people, I think, even fried it, if I'm not mistaken. But I just love the taste of it. It's really unique. And the watercolor, it's a very tough medium to work with, but I managed to
Unforgivable.
find a way. Oh, it's so unforgivable. I finally, managed to find a way around it, but it requires a lot of patience and just patience, and just do what you have to do, and apply the technique that you learn, and it will come out.
I earned my my Bachelor of Fine Arts in painting, watercolor, so unforgiving.
Okay.
For sure. Really, it's a really technical way. It takes a real technical person and sometimes a master to really be able to manipulate watercolors. Because
and discipline.
Yes, as you know, Yolène, once the color is down, it stains, and you can blot, you can wet on wet as much as you want, but that color will always, there will be a trace of it, which in a way is really beautiful. I did a little research on the breadfruit tree, or on the breadfruit, and in Haiti particularly, it showed, or I learned that it is a really common fruit or vegetable, and I say vegetable because it has that bread-like taste, I think.
It is, we consider it a vegetable.
And so maybe that's why it's going well with meats, and other things that a starch would go well with. But there have been some new scientific developments that suggest it is high in vitamins that maybe we as in maybe just me, because I'm just learning about it, but whoever the larger we is in the scientific world wasn't aware of, really speaks to the automatic maybe resources and that are available in Haiti for healthier foods, which may not be always portrayed in the general public when it comes to Haiti. We talk so much about Haiti today.
It's so true.
Yeah, there's lots of stigmas, but there's good fruit. This is maybe one of the trees of life. This breadfruit is really versatile, and it is kind of a staple, from what I've read, in a traditional Haitian diet.
It is.
We talk so much about Haiti today, and today is May 18th, which is actually Flag Day.
Flag Day, my flag.
Oh yes, happy Flag Day.
Thank you.
The history of Flag Day dates back as early as the 19th century, during the Haitian Revolution, which, as we know, was a significant event in the fight against enslavement, and to establish one of the first Black republics in the Western Hemisphere. So in 1803, there was a group of revolutionary leaders, Jean-Jacques and Catherine Flon, who designed and sewed this. They pretty much designed the Haitian flag upon independence. And so today, on May 18th, we celebrate that. Flag Day became an official holiday in 1804 in Haiti, just months after, as we know, they gained independence. And there's a celebration with various activities. I liken it maybe to Juneteenth as far as the celebrations, except in Haiti, they dress in the colors, so blue and red clothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And the street vendors, sell foods, and there are flags everywhere, really patronizing Haiti itself, but also just the history of independence from all of all of Europe, but the French. Yeah, I mean, so happy Flag Day and Independence Day in some way from America to a native, born in Haiti. It's a really great story. There's some more we can learn about wars and revolutions in our next work, right?
Yes.
a wonderful
Okay.
story about your song. Yeah, Louverture and this conch shell, please.
Yeah.
Also
To
an aquatent, so a print, we moved media.
Yeah. Toussaint
Once again.
Louverture is one of the fathers of Haiti's independence. He was one of the early fighters for the independence of Haiti. And he was arrested by the French and took to jail in France for the jour, which is a jail in France, and in order to stop the revolution. And I'll talk more about that on the next piece. But I did this aquatent, which is a printmaking medium, again, and that I have gotten used to doing. I went back to the Art Student League to learn printmaking after I studied there many years before doing paintings, because I enjoy, printmaking, and I enjoy a lot of prints in the museums and all that. And so I had him, because this is based on a historical image, of him. But I had him coming out of that conch shell, which is a conch shell, I had brought in from Haiti. And the reason I had him coming out of it, it's because during the fight for the independence of Haiti, the slaves used to communicate with each other using the conch shell. Because when you put it in your mouth, you can make certain noise with it. So they had a code, that they created using the conch shell sounds, so that they can communicate with each other. And the French were not able to understand what they were saying. They just heard noises, but they had no idea they were communicating with each other. So I thought it was, playing a little bit on history, connecting things by having him coming out of that shell. And again, conch is one of the favorite seafood in Haiti.
I dare ask, could you describe how to make an aquatent?
Oh, aquatent is a tougher one, because first, you use, you decide on the image you want to do. And first you draw it or you cut it using etching first, because the outline would be done using etching. And then after that, then you do the aquatent, and it's just so complicated. And because you have to use that, now I don't do that anymore, because you have to use the acid, because once you etch the plate, you have to put it in that acid for a certain period of time. It depends how deep you want the color. The deeper you want it, the longer you leave it in the acid. So, and you do it, gradually. So you do the lighter colors first, and you remove it, and you do the you keep going on and on. And so I don't do that anymore, because I don't want to use the acid in my studio. For me to do it, I had to go, I keep going back to the league, because over there they have a room for that. But I just decided to get into some other easier to manage, or medium or media, by getting into other techniques that I will talk about later, like lino cuts and
Monotypes, right? I think our next work, our next slide, we feature, oh, no, not yet, actually.
Woodcut.
There's a little more about, could we go to the next? Thank you. Could you tell us about this specific quote in relation to
okay. So this by itself is a simple piece. It's a woodcut, which again, you use a piece of wood as the plate, and you cut on it, and then, ink and transfer the image to the paper gradually, for each color, or you have a plate for each color. And, but this tree, again, I came across this tree on one of my trips to Haiti. And I found out this tree was like at least over almost or more than 200 years old. And because they had a lot of these old trees in Haiti. And I decided to do this piece, using that image. But once I finished it, I already had in my mind the title I was going to have for it. Because of the age of the tree, it's so old, and it, from almost independence time, I decided to call it Ses racines sont profondes et nombreuses, which in English means its roots are deep and numerous. And the reason I gave it that title is that when Toussaint Louverture was arrested and taken to France, thinking that that would stop the fight for independence, he said that by taking me, to France and to jail, you are not stopping the revolution, because the revolution roots are deep and numerous. And I thought it was so appropriate for given the age of that tree, to give it that title. I was just playing, on the words and the scene, and trying to connect those two. So that's another printmaking technique.
Another printmaking technique, another connection to the history of Haiti.
Exactly.
It's really intrinsic, I think, in the work that I've seen. And you've sent several other images of your work just as we've been getting to know each other. So I respect and honor your commitment and loyalty to your home and using it as a springboard for a lot of the historical pieces that you brought forth today. This work was in 2018, and 1 year, 2 years later, the world changed drastically. The world, talk about global. In our next slide, we have two of, I believe, more, really more current works that I think have some sort of influence from the global pandemic, but also represent a different style, maybe a non-narrative or less narrative, pictorially narrative style that we've seen in your other works. Could you tell us where these came from? What's a monotype? I have so many questions.
Okay, so the first, to tell you about monotype. Monotype is another printmaking technique where you again use a plexiglass as a plate, and you put the colors on it. And once you're satisfied, you use like etching inks, different colors. And once you're satisfied with the colors, then you transfer it on the paper, and voila, it's done. So I really enjoy during lockdown of COVID and all that, I ended up doing a lot of monotypes. I had found, first of all, it was so hard to go back to painting. First of all, going outside and paint, and just the mental requirements for concentrating on doing a landscape or a figure scenes was very difficult because of the stress and the worries about being outdoor, with COVID and just the lockdown and all that. So I started doing more monotype. And as I started doing more monotype, they started getting more abstract, because again, my brain took over. Instead of when I'm doing a landscape painting, I'm very influenced by the scene that I see, and I want to recreate that scene, in my own way. But with this abstract work, I would just sit down, put the piece of plexiglass there, and start like this one. I started with the red line, and I just put colors out and start putting colors on it, and playing with the colors. And I found that it relaxed me so much, and my brain, and it was less pressure. And I just kept working with the colors until I had to stop. And I said, okay, I think it is done. Then I transfer it to the paper, and voila. So then I do another one again. So it's very, very different. I was surprised that I was able to do that, because I'm always very focused with the scenes that I'm painting and the subject that I'm painting. And this is like another world for me. And in a way, unfortunately, COVID opened another world for me because of the mental pressure of worrying, being worried, being outside, worrying about, people dying of COVID, because I know a few people, including some artists, who died of COVID. And it just was very, very difficult to concentrate on doing landscape painting or being outdoor. So this just, did it for me. It really did it for me. And plus I enjoy doing the monotype. You know, I really enjoy. Sometimes it's do and die, because with the monotype, once you start putting the color on the plate, you have to finish it that day. You know, some artists try to cover it and put it in the fridge, but it's not the same. And I had one piece actually that I had in the exhibition at the Wilmer Jennings Gallery at Kenkeleba. I was working on that piece, and then a friend came to visit me at the studio. I had not seen him in a few years. So we were chatting and chatting. And then when he left, I transferred the image to the paper, and many of the colors that I had on the plate did not transfer. And I was looking at it, oh my God, you know, and I said, okay, so maybe I'll just try to redo it again or do something else. And then more and more people were looking at it and they said, no, we love it. And I was like, okay, let me look at it a different way, and not thinking about what I wanted to do, but what itself it decided to do. And it worked. You know, people, you know, really enjoyed it, and they have, you know, I like when people get certain feelings by looking at my art. It's so important for me, because I do want to create feelings, whether it's abstract or it's realistic. You know, I want them to feel something. And for example, I sent the picture of this one, the Red Center, to a friend of mine who is an art historian and curator. And she said, Yolène, every time I look at this image or this print, I see something else. I see something else. Every time I look, I see something else. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. You know, I want your mind to be working. And this way you don't have to worry about all the bad things going on in this world these days. You know, I want it to I just want you to enjoy it and just relax by looking at it. And most of my art, you know, of course, some of them, because of the history behind them, it's hard to relax, but it also speaks about the truth. So sometimes the truth can be painful.
I mean, you just kind of took the words out of my mouth about looking at the work and feeling a sense of peace initially, and then learning more of the history and realizing you're not painting a traumatic experience, but specifically with the first three works, the Avenue de, or no, Rue de, no, it's Avenue.
Canal, the canal.
Oh, sorry, yes,
Canal,
the canal, the hospital and the window are all beautifully rendered, but upon first glance, I wouldn't know about the sordid and kind of traumatic history. So great execution. I'm sure we'll have questions during our Q&A about maybe the emotional aspects of this work, because you also stated that you know, you wanted us to look at it, and it sounds like a moment of pause, especially during COVID, since these works, during the pandemic, since these works were done kind of as a reaction to the situation the global pandemic put us in. So if I'm almost certain we'll have several questions about that kind of emotional tie and really just the change and the shift in your work.
It surprised me.
You know, and everyone at the St. Louis Art Museum, there was an artist, Oscar Murillo, who spoke about creating a new body of work based off of the pandemic, and really used his tools to, you know, using the lockdown, as it sounds like you did, to either sink or swim. And several artists, several just human beings were able to use this time of, let's just say, seclusion at some points, again, to use it to better their practice or just their mental state, because it was a trying time. I learned so much about all of your work and your media. I do have a question about something I've been reading, a mural, that you're a muralist. Now, I don't doubt that at all, especially with some of these pastel works and working with your hand, but could you tell us maybe where a mural could have come from, or have you worked on one as an artist or as a group or a community? It's out there, and I'd like to know more.
Yeah, yes. I had done a murals, directly myself. I was approached by a vice president of a company down near Wall Street who had seen my work at other places. I had an exhibition at Columbia University, and then somewhere else, I don't remember where. And he saw my work and he really liked it. And he asked me to do a mural for the company. It's a reinsurance company called St. Paul Re. And so they had hired me to do a mural for them for the office. So I worked on it for many, many, many months. And they wanted something that represents New York, the life of New York, not Haiti, it's New York, which is my adopted homeland. So I went all over New York City trying to absorb and see different scenes, what makes New York. And I worked on that. And it was a mural on canvas. So it was 3 canvases of 5 feet by 5 feet each, but connected so that once they were completed, they were able to connect them and put them actually on a wall in the office. And but it was very stressful, because it was like, when is it going to be over? When is it going to be? And I really can't work like that. I'm like one of those free spirits. I'm working and I take my break and I get my mind into things and go back. But when you're doing a commission work, it's a lot of pressure. And but I also have done, but not directly myself, but overseeing it and coming with ideas for mural projects, like at a school in Glen Ridge, New Jersey, for example, where the students were learning about Haiti's history. So, and one of my friends' sons were, in schools there. So they told them about me and they asked me if I could, come and help the kids, do a mural project, about Haiti. So that was a lot of fun also, because they were doing the research themselves about Haiti and come up and go there and, paint, the mural. And many years later, I went by and I saw they still had the mural. I think they had it on the wall in their gyms, like many, many years later.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, again, I was contacted by one of the producers of the play Once on This Island, which is a play on Broadway. I think it's a revival, But again, the history of the play was about a love story in Haiti. And so he approached me and said, can you do a mural for us, And I said, no, I don't want to do a mural, but I can get a group of kids to do it. And, I contacted a school in Brooklyn that has a lot of Haitian students and a lot of minority students and all that, and discussed the project with them, and they were very interested. So we got it together. I had some images that I took from Haiti, and I brought it to them, and presented it to their art teacher, who is going to be working with them on a daily basis on it. And I would go from time to time to just see the progress of it and make comments about it. So completed that mural. And again, it was like, when is it going to be ready? When is it going to be ready? So the kids were wonderful. They really worked fast, and the staff at the school. And we got that mural ready and we delivered it to the theater. And they put it in the lower level of the theater. But the thing is that the lead actress in the play didn't know about the project. So she came, she was just coming from the restroom, and she saw the mural. And the kids were there, we were taking pictures, and she almost cried when she saw it. It was so emotional for her. She almost cried. She was like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God. It was just such a wonderful feeling. So she sat down and we took a photo with her and me and the kids. And so once the play the play went on for a little while, and then they stopped it, and they contacted me and said, would you like, what would you like us to do with the mural? And I said, please donate it to the school. I'd like them to have it. So we did that. But I tried to not take on any new mural project directly myself, because it's just too much pressure. I like to do my own way, and sometimes people expect something. They expect something.
Okay. And so your work is just so beautiful, especially the last two, well, all of them are, but the last two abstract works. I was hoping you could clarify, so you weren't getting any commissions for murals. If
no, it's just too much pressure.
It is.
To have the freedom of doing whatever I want with the scene.
Yeah.
And no pressure as to when it should be finished. And I understand, from their point of view.
After my undergrad studies at University of Missouri, Columbia, I lived in Chicago for a short time, and I worked at a nonprofit called the Green Star Movement. And it was a community of students. So we commissioned the students to do the work. We're volunteers, but we did mosaic murals of broken glass and porcelain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I understand when there's students involved, and even, a nonprofit or a corporation, they want to know when the work is done, but the students are the ones that are really pressing you, because they're excited to see their work in maybe a public forum. Yeah. So I get that. I guess we're going to segue right into the Q&A segment, because I think I kicked it off accidentally. There are a few questions in the chat. One immediate that I think we can talk about from the last slide. There is a question that Claudia Fennell, or Fenia, depending on what language we're speaking, she wants to know, or they want to know, first there's a comment about the work being very emotional, and Claudia would like to know what kind of paper is being used, because it has a lot of texture, and it seems like there's texture either in the paper or with the paint. Or could you tell us more about the paper? And in the red center, I'm seeing
the paper for all of these monotype, I use the rice paper, the Japanese rice paper, and they call it rice paper, but it's not really made from rice, but it's the name that they have for it. And I found that it's easy to handle, and it absorbs the ink very well, and you don't have to wet it before you transfer the image on it, the paint on it.
That's probably great for a monotype, right?
Yes, it's like perfect. I really enjoy using it.
Are there pastels in these monotype prints at all?
No, I use etching oil paint.
Okay.
And the other thing with my monotype is that you can transfer the image on the paper by using a press, but I do it by hand, because first of all, the press that I have in the studio is not big enough for me to use for these monotypes. And but also I kind of enjoy transferring it by hand. It's a lot of work, physical work, because I use different tools, including a spoon and everything, to transfer the ink on the paper slowly, and section by section. And I can test it and then just keep doing it, and testing it again, just lifting a little part, which, if you're using a press, it's harder to do that. And so it's more physical, but I enjoy it, a lot more. Plus my press is not for these pieces anyway.
A few more comments and questions. Claudia also said that the work is emotional and chaotic at times, which I can agree, it is a mystery. And she is loving your work. Another question is, can you share a little bit more about your trips to France and the various scenes you painted there? So we didn't have any of those works featured here, I think, in honor of Haiti Flag Day and just your culture and background. But could you give us a little more information about other travels, like those in France and the various scenes you painted there.
Oh yes, I have painted a lot in France, especially landscape, because the landscape there is really beautiful, and especially in the south of France. My first time, really painting in France was I went with a group of artist friends. We rented an old house, which is, like, to tell you a long story, because I was in Cape Cod, painting, and I was standing outside, painting, and this lady passed by and she said, "Oh, you are one of the artists from the house down the block?" And I said, "No, I don't know any other artists around here." And she said, "Oh, you have to meet them." So she took me over to meet them, and it was a group of American artists who were painting there also, and we became friends. And one of them was married to a Frenchman who had passed away, and she said she used to go and paint in France. She said, "Oh, we were planning a trip to France, you're interested?" I mean, many months later, we're talking about that. And I said, "Yes, definitely." So we went, and in Sorèze, which is southwest of France, and it was just wonderful. We were painting outdoor, and the people were really nice. We were painting, and then the neighbors would come and offer us wine and, and kind of things. Yeah, it was so friendly, so nice. And the scenes were just, unbelievable, and it was just so nice to be outdoor. And, and one time I was painting, I was a little bit up on a hill, and there was a big wind that came and it flew my canvas. I had to almost chase it before it went down. And so I had a little dirt, on the canvas, but it became part of the artwork. And since then, I've gone back to France because I had shown in various exhibitions there. So I've painted in all the different parts of France, on the Northwest. I just keep going back again. I haven't been, recently. In fact, I still have invitations, from a couple of friends there. They say, "We have a nice garden, we have a nice place, you can come and paint." But I do enjoy the landscape, painting the landscape of France. But I also love the landscape of Nantucket. And I had, in fact, the interesting thing is that I find out a lot of things about Nantucket after I went there painting, about its connection to the African-American community. And because when I went to Nantucket, it was a very rich town, so I didn't know about the connection right away. And I found out much later by doing, some research and just reading about Nantucket and finding out some of these histories. But again, I mostly did landscape, in Nantucket. And one of my friends, where I stayed, she knows that I like, landscape, but not the everyday landscape. So she was like, "Okay, I'll show you places in Nantucket that are very different, the real Nantucket." So she went and showed me these places. Even her husband didn't recognize those places. "These are in Nantucket?" And she said, yes, and painted some of them. I just, take some pictures and do some sketches because I was never there for a long period of time. So, and of course, Cape Cod. I love painting in Cape Cod.
And so there's so many, it sounds like so many places that have inspired you. You said you don't spend a lot of, or you could have spent more time in some areas. I know that from our conversation, that's true for Haiti. And one of our attendees wants to know more about these scenes in Haiti. The comment is, "I love your scenes of Haiti. With you being such a beautiful and realistic figurative artist, did you find it challenging working with abstraction, with the abstraction of monotypes? And are these monotypes Cinque?
Yeah, no, they're just, I don't do Cinque. It's just regular. Yeah, it's just regular. I just put the inks, on the plexiglass. And once I'm satisfied with, the image that I created, then I transfer it on the paper.
So was it challenging to switch from kind of realistic figurative scenes to abstract in the monotype?
Surprisingly, it wasn't challenging because it took me by surprise. I didn't know what to expect. I just couldn't concentrate. In fact, I have 2 watercolors that I started before COVID, and I just couldn't finish them. So I put them in the drawer. I just, wouldn't touch them, and then I started doing more and more printmaking, and I started doing the monotype, and it just led me itself.
Right.
Because many of the scenes that I created, I had no preconception of what I was going to do. I just started with one color, and then I said, oh, okay, so I should do this. And then I just kept going and going until I felt, okay, I have to stop now. And
so it sounds like the shift from figurative work to abstraction came really serendipitously.
yeah.
I'm wondering, is there any other, or not me, but someone in the chat is wondering, now that you've moved to abstraction, do you think it'll be a new direction for your paintings? Would you consider painting abstract versus print?
I don't think so, but who knows? Who knows? I don't
there a
think
medium?
so, but I think at least I may try to do both.
Is there a medium that you haven't used yet? There's another comment in the chat. I'm just kind of compiling them that you haven't used. Is there one that you want to use that you have not used yet?
Well, yes, in a sense. I don't know if you call it medium, but I'd love to do some collage.
Oh, yes.
And I haven't done so yet, but I'm tempted.
As a Romare Bearden Fellow, I am definitely a fan of Romare Bearden's work and lots of collage elements in his work. One last thing, Yolène, there's a question about your work or exhibitions moving forward. We saw wonderful artwork from you in New York City, and do you have any other exhibitions planned?
Not quite yet. No, that I can talk about yet.
Okay, well, we love that. There's so many people in the chat singing your praises, celebrating you working with students, really inquisitive about your kind of shift from figurative work to abstract and some this landscape-esque. There's a comment about the COVID pieces looking very stormy and relating that to a storm of emotions and political climate and stress. So
wow.
I think you could see, the comments are just pouring in, and they are all in celebration of you and your work. I would like to know, is there a response to your work in Haiti that you know of?
Not recently. That I had shown in Haiti only once at a museum in Haiti. They had an exhibition of Haitian artists from overseas. So I had shown at the museum there, and the reception was wonderful. It was really great. And at one point, I was talking to a gallery about having an exhibition down there, and then we had there was a political situation, and everything had to be put on hold because of political chaos. And since then, nothing happened. But it's my dream to be able to exhibit there again.
Wow.
I don't know if what's going on right now, it's not going to be in the near future, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing a piece of your soul. We're coming up into our last minute. I'd like to thank the Romare Bearden Foundation and share a slide that'll help you all, the audience.
We want to thank you, Shaka, for your lead in this wonderful conversation, and Yolène, thank you so much for sharing so much of your work, and it's beautiful. I thought I knew. I don't know anything.
Thank you for inviting me. It was such an honor to be invited.
Absolutely. On behalf of Joanne, Bryant Reed, who's a good friend of yours, and the Romare Bearden Foundation, of course, and staff. You know, we also have to thank Nadal Canary, who is our producer, and he always makes things run smoothly and make us look good. And Harlem One Stop, that host our virtual programs on their site. Also, these are recorded and they stream on our Facebook pages and on their Harlem One Stop YouTube page. So thank you. You'll be able to see all of that. We want to thank everyone who was here and who joined in on the conversation. We have so wonderful things in the chat coming through. So Yolène, make sure that you take a look at that when we'll send you the follow-up. You have lots of fans out there, it looks like. And this was a wonderful, wonderful talk. I really, really enjoyed it. I had one question of my own, and that was just, you know, is there anywhere we can actually see that mural?
No, unfortunately, I don't know where it is. Which one?
Or an image of the mural that you
Which
did.
one?
The
one that I did for the company, or the one
for the company?
For the company. Well, I have photos of it that I can send to you, but I don't know because the company had closed their New York office.
Right.
And not only they had the mural, but they had purchased many of my paintings also. You know, I had done painting of East River and different, New York scenes that they had acquired also. And I can't find anything. I contacted the people that I knew there at that time. They are no longer there. The vice president that had hired me to do it is, retired from the company. The president, which was another interesting thing, because when I showed them the sketch for it, and the president was saying, well, we want something with our name on it or something. I had the people in the street with a backpack, and on the backpack, I had the initial of the company, and he was like, yes.
All right. Well,
I don't know where they are.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing a document of that somewhere on your website or somewhere in the future.
Okay, yeah.
Get more commissions after this. I know it was difficult. But again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Shaka. We had a wonderful conversation. We really enjoyed it. Thank you. And to all of you out there, good night.
And thank you again for, to everybody for doing this, and people who attended. Thank you for attending and your support and your comments. Thank you.